Hey, fifth graders, today you're going to evaluate expressions, equations, and inequalities. Please make sure you have your math notebook out. You will need to take notes, detailed notes, during this lesson, and you will need to post your notes on Schoology following the lesson. So be sure that you are prepared and following along as I go through today's learning target. Yesterday we discussed that a variable is a letter that's representing an unknown amount. N, for example, is a variable. Today it's telling us when this equals 4, we want to solve this inequality below. So I remembered that anytime I see a letter, a variable, and a number smushed together, that means to multiply. So I realized that 5n smushed together really means 5 multiplied by n. Since they're telling me up here, hey, n equals 4, I'm going to just realize that it's asking me to say 5 times 4. That equals 20. Now I'm asked to subtract 6. 20 minus 6. You should be also writing this down, of course, in your notebook, is 14. So this side over here equals 14. On the right side, again, they're asking me to multiply 2 times n. I realize that n equals 4 because, again, it's literally telling me right up here that n equals 4. The variable is 4. So I know that over here, this side is going to be equal to 8. So now if I compare these two, I'm thinking this side is greater than this side. You should have all of this in your notes, please. And I actually want you to include this smiley face right here so that we can do a quick check that you're following along throughout the lesson in your notes that you post. Yesterday, we started talking about solving equations. Now, this is different from the problem we just reviewed with the inequalities because they're not telling us what the variable equals. In this situation, we have to figure out what the variable is. So I'm noticing right now that I have two sides on the equal sign, and I like to add these kind of railroad tracks, if you can visualize this, to separate this side of the equation to that side. So I would make sure, if I were you, that you pause the video and make sure you write all this down to set up. Now I want to keep on one side, and it doesn't really matter which side, I want on one side the variable and on the other the numbers. So since I notice here I have 12n and 8n, I'm going to move the 8n. If I have 8, I can get rid of 8 by saying subtracting 8n. And that brings me to 0. I'm going to do it on this side, so I'm going to do it on this side over here, the opposite. And I've got rid of this over here, which is great. Now I'm thinking 12 minus 8 is 4n. At this time, I still have a number over here without a variable. I've gotten rid of my variable on this side, so all I have left is my 15. So I'm going to go ahead and think, if I have 7, how do I get rid of 7? I'll change my color. I'm subtracting 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. Do it on that side, do it on the other. So I've got rid of that. And I know that 15 take away 7 is 8. So now if I rewrite this, I'm left with 4n equals 8. My goal was to have the number on one side and the variable on the other. So here's my number and here's my variable. So I've succeeded in that. From the problem we just did, I can remember that this really means multiply. So in my head, I'm thinking 4 times what equals 8? You're right, 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So my answer for my variable is n equals 2. We've just solved it. Now we could go ahead and try this out to see if it really worked. For instance, we could plug in, since we know that n is 2, 12 times 2, I know that is 24, plus 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. So this side equals 31. Let's see if this side over here is 31. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 15 is 31. So you do see that these are the same on each side. Let's try another problem. Go ahead and write this down. We want to solve for our equation. So we don't know what the variable b stands for. So we want to figure out that amount. First thing I do is I check for my variables. Here I have a variable. Do you see a variable anywhere else? There's no variable anywhere else. So I'm going to leave this b, and I want to now get rid of the number. So if I have a negative number, think about the temperature, especially in Minnesota winters. When it's negative, in order to just get to 0, we need to actually increase the temperature or add. So that's what we're thinking about in this situation too. It's a negative 13. So to get to 0, if I owe somebody money, I have to make money to just even out, right? So I'm going to add in this case to get to 0. I do it on that side of the equation, or equal sign. I do it over here. I'm done with this. Now I add 7, 8, 9, 10, 30. So my new problem is 5b equals 30. Make sure you're writing this down in your notes. I remember that 5b, a letter and a number smushed together, really means to multiply. So I'm thinking 5 times what gets me to 30? 6 is my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and say b equals 6. Again, I can check to see if this actually worked. I'm going to plug it in up here and see if I end up with 17. 5 times 6, I know that's 30. 30 minus 13 is indeed 17. Great, it worked. Ready to try another one? Go ahead and make sure you pause the video, set this problem or equation up, and then press play when you're ready to continue. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of draw this line to separate my sides of the equation. I'm looking for my variables. I have 8q here and 5q here. Which one is more? You got it, 8q. I'm going to leave that b. If I have 5 to get to 0, I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to say minus 5q is 0. Do it on the one side, do it on the other. 8 take away 5 is 3q. Super. So now over here, that's out of my way. On this side, I'm still noticing though that I have a number. Since it's a minus, there's a subtraction right here. I'm thinking, how do I get to 0 if I have a negative number? And again, we could think of our number line. If I have a -7, to get to 0, I'm going to have to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I actually have to add 7 if I have a negative number. So that's what we'll go ahead and do. Plus 7 is 0. Do it on the one side of the equal sign. Do it to the other. Plus 7. Got rid of this. 11 plus 7 is 18. Let's rewrite this. We're left with 3q equals 18. Again, we see that we have a number and a variable smushed together. That means multiply. So I'm thinking 3 times what number would equal my 18 over here? I know that 3 times 6 is 18. So my answer is q equals 6. We could go ahead and insert this now into our original problem to see, does this work? So let's go ahead and try. 8 times 6 is 48. 48 minus 7 is 41. So on this side of the equation over here, we have 41. Let's see if this works over here. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 plus 11, again, is indeed 41. So our answer, we are confident, is accurate. Go ahead and write this problem down. I want you to try to solve it on your own to tell me what p, the variable, equals, and then press play to go through and listen to my explanation. So go ahead and solve it right now. All right, so hopefully you have your answer in mind, and we'll see if you can kind of self-reflect on how accurate your work was. Here's my equal sign. I'm looking on the left side and I notice I have a variable. I look on the right side and there's no variable. So all I'm gonna do is now have to move the numbers. Since I have a -4, I know that to get to 0, I'm gonna have to add. I do that to this side of the equal sign. I do it to the other. And I end up with 12. So I'm gonna go ahead and rewrite this. 3p, because I'm done with that over here, equals 12. Again, I realize that 3p really means 3 times a number equals 12. And I know that is 4. So my answer is 4 equals the variable p. Again, I can plug that in up here. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 4 is indeed 8. I know it's correct. How did you do? Take a minute to try this one. This is a little bit more complicated than the last one. I want you to pause the video and then press play when you're ready to self-reflect and listen to my explanation. Go ahead and give it a try. All right, here's my equal sign. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I can separate the two sides. I'm looking and I notice I have a variable here and a variable here. 8 is less than 10, so I'm gonna go ahead and move 8. If I have 8 and I wanna get to 0, I can subtract or take away 8x. Do it on this side of the equal sign. I'm gonna do it on the other. 10 minus 8 is 2x. This is now out of my way. Over here, I notice that I have a -4. I want to get rid of that or move it to the other side. So if I have -4, I'm going to add 4 to get to 0. Do it on this side, add 4 over here. 16 plus 4 is 20. Let's go ahead and rewrite this. We're done with this. I'm left right now with 2x equals 20. Again, I realize this really means 2 multiplied by a number to get me to 20, which I know 2 multiplied by 10 is 20. So my variable x equals 10 is my answer. I want to double, triple check that I am accurate, so I'm thinking in my head 10 times 10 is 100. 100 minus 4, 96. Let's see if the right side is equal to 96. 8 times 10 is 80. 80 plus 16 is 96. So these two sides are equal. I'm really confident that my answer over here, x is 10, is correct. Where are you at with evaluating expressions and solving equations? Make sure at this time that you post your notes on Schoology. Make sure they're detailed.